Okay, it's 4 p.m. and time for our board workshop. I want to welcome everybody that's out in the audience tonight. We appreciate having you here. It's great to see you, and it's great to see so many young people here too. So thanks for being here. Okay, we have some really exciting stuff tonight. So we are excited to start with student growth and achievement, and with our Learning First presentation. And we're going to have Mr. Chris Keim come up and talk about our presenters, and we're so excited to have Sunset Junior here. Oh, while Mr. Keim is walking up, I wanted to excuse Superintendent Linford. He is not going to be here at our night. But he is meeting with regulators tonight. I'm sure he'll be listening later. So, and Elisa is traveling, so we'll excuse her also. Okay, Mr. Keim.
Thank you. President Gerard, Vice President Price, board members, it's my honor to introduce Miss Tammy Oliver. Come on down. She didn't have a walk-up song, so or she did, we just didn't have time to cue it up. My pleasure to introduce Principal Tammy Oliver, Sunset Junior High School. She is going to share some of the great things they're doing at Sunset Junior High, particularly with the work of literacy.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I like to brag about Sunset. Okay, I got to get all the things in place. Sunset Junior High has lots of things that are unique about it. One of our really unique things that I wanted to point out at the beginning was its geographical location. I thought I was going to be closer to the board, but I mean, you can see, like the long skinny one on the right, that's South Weber, and you can see that the base separates them from Sunset and Clinton, which is unique because kids are trying to meet each other, and like they don't go to elementary together, right? Because they're so far away. And then when they come to junior high, they're trying to meet new friends and connect. And so we actually fund a late bus to take those kids to South Weber 4 nights a week. So they can stay until 4 o'clock. The bus comes at about 4:15. That's not the end of a basketball game. That's not always the end of a whatever, but it's almost the end. So they get to participate in a lot of things. The reason why we fund the late bus is if you can look at this map really close, you can see I put in there a 5 o'clock, like on a Tuesday, what the time would be to get from Sunset to your house in South Weber. Like we're talking 30 minutes on a good night. So we really want to make sure that the distance doesn't stop our kids from participating or feeling like they're a part of our Sunset community. All right, so our literacy journey, I've been thinking about this a lot because Dr. Linford called me a while ago, like a week or 2 ago, and I'm trying to put this in a very short, succinct, it's been a long journey. It's been 2.5 years, so I kind of want to, and we bounce around a lot. So in 2023, we are an ATSI school, which means that we have been designated as an additional targeted support and improvement school. So we have 2 categories that we're working to make improvement in, and that's with our students with disabilities and our English language learners. So in 2023, we applied for a state grant. It's called the Elevate Schools Grant, and it's actually $375,000 over a 3-year period. So we got that grant. I didn't really know what we were applying for exactly. We just knew that it was to help us get whatever support we needed to get out of this TSI designation. As a school, we decided that to help all students, as well as our students with disabilities and our ELLs, that we should focus on literacy. We felt like if we could help kids with their literacy skills, that would boost everybody up. So we, in 2014, or in 2020, wow, that shows my age. In 2024, we looked at incorporating some, and you can see here on the screen, we started in 2024 with Tier 1 instruction, by starting in every classroom. We posted learning targets, we refer to the learning targets. We did school-wide training on incorporating vocabulary strategies. Vocabulary in the secondary level is the big thing, right? The content words, so that kids understand what it is they're supposed to even be doing. We did a lot of modeling of I do, then we do, then you do. And one of our main focuses in the last year has been to get students reading the text. Teachers shouldn't be reading the instructions to them, have them read it as a group, have them read it to each other, but just getting kids reading in the text. At the same time that we started all these school-wide initiatives, we also jumped to a Tier 3 instructional support, which is SIPS. And I had to write it down because I don't really always know what SIPS stands for. It's Systematic Instruction in Phonological Awareness, Phonics, and Sight Words. And it's very consistent in elementaries. Either they use SIPS or some program that helps kids fill the gaps, the phonological gaps that they have. As a former English teacher, I had lots of kids that came to my class that struggled with reading. And I was not prepared with, back then, it was only 10 years ago, but we weren't talking about literacy in secondary schools at that time. I didn't have the skills as an English teacher to help these kids fill the gaps. I did the best I could, but the most that we ever had was reading comprehension. And if I could go on and on about this for days, but those aren't the gaps that needed to be filled first. So now we see these kids. For me, it was this magical thing that happened in elementary school. I had no idea what these elementary teachers were doing, but whatever they were doing was fantastic. So now we find out that SIPS is built for secondary kids also. So 2.5 years ago, we decided to just jump in at the semester. We identified the kids that we could identify, and we put them in this course, and they made some progress. And then last year, we had the whole year. We identified kids even better. It's a lot of work to sift through data. Secondary Director Chris Keim was at our school today and kind of watching the process. It takes a lot of time, and I think this is one of the reasons why maybe we haven't done it before. We just don't know where to start. But we dig through the data to find out which kids need to be in this Tier 3 intervention. So now we're on our second year and a half, getting those kids in the right place. And at the end of last year, based on the data, we saw that there was a gap. We need more Tier 2 instruction, which is the secondary literacy class. So this is the class that does some phonological awareness, but it also gets us into the reading fluency and the reading comprehension that they don't get when they're in SIPS. So it's just the next level. So this is last year's data. The top line is the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year at the bottom. And I didn't put a bunch of numbers on this because really what I want you to watch is the green line. So we want the green and the blue to get bigger. So this was word recognition and decoding. So kids made progress, really good progress. If you watch, that green line goes down. The green and the blue is getting bigger at the end of the year. Vocabulary, we also made some good improvement there. Morphology, we're making improvement across the board. Sentence processing. Reading efficiency, and then reading comprehension was probably our smallest gain. And so this is why, one of the determining factors for the secondary literacy course, because they do work on fluency and reading comprehension there, which they weren't in the SIPS class. Let's see. The secondary literacy class, this is the first year we've taught it, and so all these kids have been in the class for one term. And the secondary literacy teacher gave her assessment, and 100% of her students, I think she has 3 classes, 100% of her students made progress from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year assessment this year. So we're feeling good about that step. We are still honing all of looking at the data and making sure that the key is getting kids in the right place. Where's the class that's going to meet the needs that they have? And there aren't great assessments for secondary. There just aren't good diagnostics. They're getting better because we're demanding more stuff for literacy. So we're getting there. So that's all I have to say about literacy. We're making great strides. We're making improvements along the way. And the last thing I just want to point out is Sunset Junior High is a teacher academy school. So you have two elementaries in the district, Sunburst and South Clearfield, that have been teacher academy schools. So this is where university students are embedded in the school to do their practicum hours. And we already have the interest of Weber State, Utah State, and Western Governors, and so we'll be working with them. We won't have any more student teachers in our building because all the practicum students that come through Davis School District that have a secondary need will come through Sunset Junior High if we teach the class. So if we have a chemistry student teacher, they won't. Physics, we don't offer those classes. So we're excited. I don't have any data on this because we're going to start in January, but it's pretty awesome experience for Sunset. So that's all I got.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Will you stay up here in case board members have questions? I know I have a couple of comments. Anyone have a question or a comment?
I have a question.
Okay, Ms. Barber.
And still on the slide, I'm glad you, so about the university clinical experiences, are we paying those teachers?
No.
That they come? They just come?
Nope. So when
Interesting.
you are, it's the phase right before your student teaching. You come and you are in the classroom and you have to do so many hours, so many experiences. You teach some mini lessons, but not to every class, maybe just one or two classes. You work in conjunction with the cooperating, the mentor teacher. But it is a part of their university experience.
Awesome. Ms. Price?
I just have a comment. I just wanted to say thanks. I had an opportunity to work with Miss Oliver a little bit with the grant and just the requirements, and it was just really interesting to see the process and just knowing that your staff and your teachers are so dedicated and really wanting to help the students. And so it's fun to see some of the progress with the plan and with the grant. So thank you.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. It's an awesome group of people to work with.
Okay. Any other comments? Ms. Powell? You look like you want to say
Well,
something.
I was just wondering, how many students do you have at your school?
980.
How many?
980.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty decent.
Okay. I want to say thank you so much for coming today. Really exciting news about the Teacher Academy School. That's great. And I've just been very impressed with your presentation. I love what you've done to make sure that the South Weber students and their families feel included and that they belong at Sunset Junior. So that's awesome. And the improvements and everything you've done in the reading, very impressive also. And you hit the nail on the head when you said it takes a lot of time. So I appreciate the time and effort and work that you have put into that to reach every student in their reading skills. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Okay. Yay, that deserves a clap. Thank you, Sunset Junior. Okay, I'm really excited about this next presentation also from our early learning department. And we're going to have Dr. Fidel Montero come up and introduce them. And I'm excited to hear from my good friend, Ellen Scott. And she's pointed to them. I don't know if she'll get to talk. Tiffany instead of Dr. Montero. So, Tiffany, thank you. Will you introduce everyone?
Sure thing.
Okay.
Opportunity to some information about the program is a piece of the special ed department that serves students from birth to age 22. So I'm going to turn the time over to our preschool coordinator, Amy Garlick, to give you some information about that. And she's got some time at the end if you have questions. So, Amy Garlick.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity. We're really excited to give you some information about what we do with the youngest learners in Davis School District. My name's Amy Garlick, and I am the administrator of the program, but I also have an amazing team that I work with. I have two special education coaches, Jamie Reese and Shelley Fenton, who oversee the special education services and the teachers and what they're doing in the classrooms. And then I have two general education coaches. I have Ellen Scott and Missy Kauser, who go out and support curriculum in the classroom, support teachers in the classrooms, and making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. As Tiffany mentioned, we are guided by the special education department in Tiffany, and she's a huge support for us. Oh, let me just move this on. Okay. Our goal is to ensure high quality programming, classroom consistency, and strong support for staff and students. So the early childhood department is designed to provide high quality educational experiences that support student growth, development, and school readiness. We serve preschool age students throughout the school district with and without disabilities, and our program includes inclusive and special education classroom settings, ensuring that every child receives the support and environment they need to thrive. We are continually working to meet the needs of our students and the broader community. Our programs provide a balanced approach with specialized instruction, inclusive opportunities, and developmentally appropriate practices. These approaches help children to build confidence, spark curiosity, and develop foundational skills needed for lifelong learning. Our program is growing every single year, and we're serving more and more students throughout Davis School District and across our community. With every new classroom that we add, we strengthen the foundation for success in the early years. Each expansion affirms that our commitment to ensuring all children have the tools, support, and the confidence that they need to truly thrive. We offer a variety of different classrooms to meet the diverse student needs. Our goal is to create opportunities for kids to explore and play and learn and grow. Our program serves children who are 3 to 5 years old. We have AM and PM sessions at every single location. We have 5 different program models, as you can see on the slide. We have a 3-year-old inclusive preschool classroom that serves only 3-year-old students, so they stay 3 years old the entire school year so that we can program for them, and it's more of a play group setting so that they can learn how to be in school. Then we have a Tier 1 inclusive preschool classroom where students come 2 days a week, and they are our students with probably our least amount of need, but we're making sure that we're doing what's best for them. And then this year we started our Tier 1 pre-K program, which is for 4-year-olds only. And it's a 4-day-a-week program, and they get to come and have more advanced opportunities to help get them ready for kindergarten. We've actually seen a ton of growth in those classrooms, and so we know we've made the right decision there. We also have a Tier 2 inclusive preschool classroom for students. It's a mixed age classroom, but it's for students who need more support than that Tier 1 can get. They need maybe more instructional support, more teacher support, more social skills support. And then we also have a Tier 3 preschool special education classroom for our kids with our most significant needs. We strive to provide high quality early learning that meets each child's needs and builds a strong foundation for future success. These are some of our program highlights. This year we have 39 preschool classrooms throughout the district, and we are located in 20 elementary schools. 28 of those classrooms are the inclusive preschool classrooms, meaning half of the students have a disability and half of the students are tuition paying, typically developing peers that are in those classrooms to be models for students with disabilities. And then we have 11 specialized classrooms. Those are our special education classrooms for the students, the Tier 3 for the most significant need. We also have district-wide supports. We have a child find testing team. We have an obligation through IDEA to find all of the kids in the district who need support. So we have a testing team that is dedicated to finding those students and making sure they're identified and getting the supports that they need in the preschool classrooms. We also have an early intervention testing team That testing team identifies kids coming out of the early intervention program, so the birth to 3 program, and determining eligibility for services once they turn 3 and are eligible to come into preschool. And then we also participate in the High Quality State Preschool Grant. This is expanding access to kids who may not have an opportunity to attend preschool and increases opportunities for many families across the district. Together, these classrooms, teams, and supports help us build a wide range of student needs and ensure access to high-quality programs throughout Davis School District. So we have, this is the staff that provides all of these amazing services. We have 39 special educators in our program. They all have a birth to 5 special education license and provide services in a variety of ways in our classrooms. We have 28 pre-K instructors who are required to hold a CDA, which is a Child Development Associate or a bachelor's degree, in order to be in that position. We have 110 paraprofessionals who support all of our students in our classroom. They support daily operation, they assist students, they make sure that the environment is safe and engaging. We have 10 related service providers that are located in our offices. They help with the testing team and determining eligibility and are just a really huge support to us. I have 2 support staff, 2 amazing secretaries that keep everything running smoothly, and we couldn't live without them. In total, that's 189 preschool staff that work together to provide exceptional early learning experiences for our children across Davis School District. Our program is primarily supported through state IDEA funds. It accounts for about 78% of our budget. We also have additional contributions through federal IDEA funds, our state high quality preschool grant, tuition revenue, and Medicaid funds. IDEA funding is based on 1 year in arrears, so current allocations don't yet reflect the steady increase of students that we are serving every single year. Despite the level funding, our team has done an exceptional job managing resources effectively. Through careful budgeting, strategic planning, and a commitment to quality, we continue to provide an outstanding inclusive preschool program that we're very proud of. So I want to talk a little bit more about our high quality preschool grant because I'm pretty proud of us. Utah is trying to expand access to high quality preschool for all young children across the state. They are prioritizing children at risk, including those who are economically disadvantaged, English language learners, children in foster care, and experiencing other risk factors. The Utah School Readiness Program, which is who governs the state grant that we're a part of, supports initiatives that increase school readiness, improve academic performance, and reduce remediation costs. Our goal is to help children develop the skills they need to succeed in school and beyond. There are some key requirements to the Expanded Student Access Grant. A few of those are measured in these ways. We have to show that our program is of quality, and that is done through an ECHRS observation. ECHRS stands for Early Childhood Environmental Rating Scale, and they assess the overall quality of the early childhood environment that students are in. We're observed 4 times per year. The state comes out and surprises us, gives us about 30 minutes notice and says, hey, we're going to this classroom. And we get to call the teachers and say they're on their way and good luck.
Pressure.
But you know what? They do an amazing job. We are required to receive a 4.0 or above in order to maintain our high quality grant. We've had 1 observation this year. Our first score was 4.12, so we're pretty happy with that. Our past averages consistently meet that threshold or are above that threshold consistently. The next key requirement is student growth. We must show academic and developmental progress, often measured through assessment tools, and in a moment I will go through some of those assessments that we've done. And then we need to make sure that we're serving the most at-risk students. So we have to have the capacity to serve all of these students, and we have to ensure that children who need the most support are accessing these classrooms. So far in the 23-24 school year, the state of Utah as a whole has served 9,610 students in this grant. Over 40 different preschool programs. That could be district preschool programs or it could be private preschool programs. In Davis School District, we currently are holding 120 spots for students who are eligible for the grant. We wish it could be more, but funding is limited, so we will take what we can get. Right now, 24% of preschool age students meet the at-risk eligibility criteria, ensuring children who need support most have access to that early learning. And research shows that students in high-quality preschool programs demonstrate stronger literacy outcomes compared to being in a non-high-quality program. Funding limitations continue to restrict the number of children who can be served statewide, but we're always working on it. This is our data. So we have developed the Davis Essential Preschool Skills, and it is given 3 times a year to all of our preschool students who are able to take the test. We have 3 different tests, one for each age that is in the program, and it's given 3 times a year, one at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and at the end of the year, so that we can progress monitor and track and see where our students are. As you can see from this, the blue line is the beginning average of our program. The orange line is the end of year average of our program. This is for last school year. And the purple line is the total count that kids could achieve. So our goal is for students to come into the program with 50% of the target skills. By mid-year, have about 70% of the target skills. And by the end of the year, we hope to have 85% of the target skills. The areas that are assessed are alphabet knowledge, book awareness, fine motor, gross motor, math, oral language, phonological awareness, science, and social emotional skills. So this demonstrates that we have some growth. We have kids that are making progress and thriving in our classrooms. And then this data is also given to the state. They monitor it and make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing also. So this is about our program growth in the last few years. Currently, we have 1,157 preschool students just in our program. Oh. That does not count the students that are being served in Head Start and Title I. Ages 3 to 5. That's a lot of preschoolers, and it's not near as many as we should have. We should be serving way more. Right now, we have 274 regular education peers and 883 special education peers. Our classroom growth has increased dramatically also. In 2020, we had 31 classrooms, and this year, as I said earlier, we opened our 39th preschool classroom across the district. We also have a lot of students moving into the district who need special education services, who are on a current IEP. In 2023, we had 67 preschoolers move in just with an IEP already. In 2024, we had 50, and now this school year, we already have 30 as of yesterday. So we have a lot of kids to serve. But steady growth in classrooms demonstrates the district commitment to expanding access and meeting the increasing demand. So why does high quality preschool matter? School readiness leads to higher literacy skills, higher math skills, improved attention, self-regulation, and social skills. There's long-term academic benefits. It's better reading proficiency, higher graduation rates, fewer grade retention, fewer special education needs. There's social emotional growth, stronger peer skills, emotional regulation, and executive functioning. And our biggest gains are for our at-risk kids, fewer special education referrals, higher kindergarten readiness, and sustained success in elementary school. So what are our long-term goals as a department? We want equitable access. We want to expand enrollment and remove barriers for all kids to be able to access preschool services, whether it be at cost, transportation, or just getting information out into the community. We want high-quality learning. We use evidence-based curriculum, research-based curriculum, and we regularly assess student growth. We want a smooth transition into elementary schools. The state core standards for preschool are aligned to the kindergarten core standards, and we actively share readiness data with schools. We encourage family engagement. We partner with Head Start to host a parent night once a year. We encourage parents to attend school events at the school that they're attending, and we support parents' individual needs. Staff development. We provide ongoing training for teachers and staff and continuous improvement. We are using our assessment data and program evaluations to guide growth both with teachers and students. I thank you for this opportunity to share what we've been doing in Davis Early Childhood Programs. Do you have any questions?
Well, I'm sure that we will have some questions, but Ms. Garlick, thank you so much.
You're
That
welcome.
was an amazing informational presentation, and we knew you were doing great things, but we didn't know you were doing this much. So, wow, thank you
Thank
to you and your team. This is just really impressive, and I honestly believe that maybe we haven't done a good enough job of getting the word out of all of the services that we offer in early learning. This is so important, and
It's critical.
it is critical. Early learning builds the foundation
does.
for academic success,
Mhm.
not only later in school, but for life, life skills, which you
Absolutely.
pointed out. So it was just really, really important. So we so appreciate what you do. Are there any
Thank you.
questions? Ms. Stevens?
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. I serve on the Head Start committee, so I see a lot of
Okay.
what they do and how they run it. And I'm wondering, you know, with your keeping kids, retaining them, are there attendance requirements? And if they aren't attending, are they dropped from the program, or is it not that way?
It's different than it is in Head Start. We definitely do everything possible to keep our kids attending. If they have not attended for 8 sessions, then we drop students, but we definitely provide information to parents to let them know as soon as they're ready to come back, then we stand ready to serve them as soon as they're ready.
And there's enough spots that, do you have a wait list, or is it anyone that comes is
Currently,
accepted?
we do not have a wait list, although there are some locations that are 100% full. So it really just depends on the area of the district that you're in, and the demand for being in those preschool classrooms. We've been in some of the schools for many, many years, and so their reputation has been built over many, many years. So some of those spots go very quickly. And then some of our newer locations where we've only opened maybe this year or last year, they tend to have more spots. Right now, we are not at capacity in every location,
Okay.
but in some we are.
Thank you.
After tonight, you might have a wait list because the word is going to get out.
I hope so.
That's good. Okay, any other
Yes.
questions, Ms. Hogan?
Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Um,
Thank you.
My question is, so there's 4% that pay tuition, it sounds like.
Yes, that's 4% of our funding comes from tuition funds.
Okay, so I guess my question is, how do students qualify? Is there a qualification process
For the grant, yes.
for the grant, but for just the preschool, is it more just first come, first serve,
Yes,
or
it
how
is.
do
We
you?
opened registration in February.
Okay.
And we start advertising in January. We put flyers at every elementary school to try and get kids in. Then there's 2 ways. You can either pay tuition, which is $150 a month for 2 days a week, and $250 a month for 4 days a week. We feel that's pretty competitive. We've done a lot of research for private preschools in the area. And then students who need to be in preschool because they are at risk go through an eligibility determination process through a grant application. And if they are in foster care, they automatically get in. If they are an English language learner, they automatically get in. If they meet the risk factors, there's like 13 different ones, they automatically get in. So there's some factors that is an automatic move over, and some we have to kind of determine whether we have the availability to give that scholarship. But if they meet the requirements, then they get into the classroom. They don't pay tuition for the entire year, and the grant funds their tuition.
Okay, thank you.
Wow.
Welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I think sometimes early learning may have been lumped in with Head Start, and it's
We are two different programs.
you're completely different
We are two
programs, and
different
it's
programs.
good that people are aware of that.
Yes, although
Um,
we do coordinate and we do
I saw
serve-
that.
We do serve students in the Head Start classrooms who have a disability.
Okay.
So I have a few
okay.
staff that are dedicated to that. And we meet monthly to coordinate services between our program and their program.
Okay, and
Yeah.
you do have that parent community night, I
Yes.
noticed, with,
The
with Head
Literacy Night is in
Start.
January. That's where we're partnering.
Oh,
January 22nd, it's a literacy night where our departments will be doing that together.
that's close to our community night on the 26th. So January 22nd, you're
Mhm.
hosting that where?
It's at the Family Enrichment Center.
Okay,
So
that's awesome.
our two departments will be hosting that together.
That's great. Can we come?
Absolutely. You're all
Okay.
invited.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you
I
so
I
much.
love your goals. Building confidence, sparking curiosity, and building foundational skills.
Thank you.
Those are huge goals, and
Yes.
it's so important
Absolutely.
to our students and to our families. So thank you all for what you
Thank
do.
you. Yes, thanks.
Okay. Okay, next, under fiscal responsibility, we are going to ask Dr. Toon to come up, and he'll introduce our elementary directors to talk about boundaries and program studies.
Thank you. Timothy, can I just project my own here? Is that all right? Thank you. I hope this works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And my introduction will be relatively quick because we want to get to the meat of the discussion today. My purpose is, as in representing the superintendency here, is to just, first of all, thank the board for your time on these issues. The board has spent an incredible amount of time and attention on attending to some of our enrollment challenges that we've had recently. That includes work from prior years and work in the current year, and all of that work is hard. None of the conversations around boundaries, around programs, around any of that yet come without paying the price for it, emotionally, without hearing like sincerely felt legitimate concerns from community members that have questions and even fears about the way things are going. And so I want to first thank you for your time and attention, and also give recognition to the pretty incredible staff members that have been working on these things, both from the accounting folks that help with planning and number projections and things, all the way to the superintendent and others who have attended to it. I want to remind you briefly of House Bill 341, which was passed in the 2024 general session, which establishes requirements for boundary changes and program and school closures. A program closure is defined as any closure of a magnet program that serves magnet students and calls out particularly dual language immersion programs and gifted and talented programs. And the law establishes some requirements that we as a district and you as a board need to follow if you'd like to consider any of those changes. We need to complete the entire process and have the board's final vote 60 days in advance of any boundary change, and by the December 31st of the year in advance of the effect date of any school closure. And I think whether it was intentional or not, program closure follows that same requirement from legislation. So we're way ahead of the boundary change requirement, because today in business meeting you're going to entertain the idea of one boundary change and two program closures for board action. The boundary change is associated with the opening of the new elementary school in Syracuse. Even though we only have to be done 60 days in advance of the first day of school, we wanted to give the community and the new staff at the elementary school plenty of time to understand and plan and carry that out. And so we pushed this one ahead just a little bit and are doing it in conjunction with the others in order to get the decision made, and so boundaries can be published officially, kids can be enrolled in their next school, and we can be ready to go. Each of these actions requires a vote in board meeting to initiate the process, and we accomplished those beginning way back in November, and then throughout the last few months. We need to conduct this study. Today is the end of that study as we bring the final recommendation to you for board action later today. We need to provide several different requirements around public notices to parents via snail mail, email. We have to have a public notice that's announcing a public hearing. We have another notice requirement that goes to some of our civic leaders, city leaders, and things like that. And then we have to have a public comment in a public board meeting, so like our regular public comment periods that we're having today and in conjunction with other business meetings, at least one of those prior to the final vote and at least 2 of those prior to a change. So the way we've interpreted that is we've announced the proposal with plenty of time to have 2 board meetings between that announcement and your vote today, or 2 public comment periods between the announcement and your vote today for the program closures. And we're way, way in advance of that because on the boundary change, because we announced those boundary drafts in July. So we have like 8 opportunities for people to provide comments since then. And then we have to have a public hearing. And when possible, we need to hold that public hearing at the site of any proposed closure. So we've held those hearings. We held the public hearing for the Syracuse Area Elementary School here on the same night as one of our workshops a while ago. And the same with Eagle Bay and Canyon Creek boundary change. And then today we hope that you will vote in your business meeting later to approve the changes. And so these are the ones that we've talked about this year. We're doing a Syracuse Area Elementary Boundary Study that responds to the construction and opening of the new elementary school. And the Lincoln Elementary DLI Program Study. The board, we had a very advanced information and feedback in that the closure of that program was not recommended. The board took action on that already. So that study was concluded, and since no closure was required, we didn't have to hold a public hearing or anything like that. And so that's not on the table for tonight. But we also have a South Davis Junior French Dual Language Immersion Program study, and Mr. Keim will come up and speak about that. But we're recommending closure of that program and consolidation with the same program at neighboring Mueller Park Junior High School. And we're considering today in board meeting the boundary study for Eagle Bay and Canyon Creek Elementary Schools to respond to enrollment challenges there. So we have some experts queued up and ready to give you a brief summary of the proposal that you probably have already heard, update you on any changes to the proposal or adjustments, and some of the conversations that have happened around, like with parents, and how we're responding to some of the concerns that have been brought up. So Ms. Tracy Robbins is going to speak first to the Syracuse Area Boundary Study and address some of the changes that we made to the recommendation there. Mr. Chris Keim will address the South Davis Junior French DLI program recommendation, and then Mr. Doug Forsgren will address the Eagle Bay and Canyon Creek Elementary. So I'll turn the microphone to them in succession. I would recommend that you engage directly with them about the questions and conversation you want to have with Tracy about the Syracuse area, and then get all the way through all your questions and discussion, and then move to Chris and do all the questions and discussion on South Davis, and then do the same for Doug and Eagle Bay.
Thank
Is
you,
that all right
Dr.
with you,
Toon.
President? Are we okay to proceed like
That's
that?
just okie dokie with me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tracy?
Thank you, Dr. Toon. Thank you, President, board members, Tim Luffel, Mr. Luffel. Pleasure to be with you tonight. As you know from our last presentation last month, we had received some feedback on some changes for a particular area that was just east of Bluff Road in the Syracuse new school boundary. We went out, Dr. Helene Van Natter and myself, and walked the path, talked to some families, and opened it up again to a consideration of a move from that triangle piece, which has been removed out. You'll see it kind of on Bluff Road. Considering feedback on if we were to leave that in the Bluff Ridge area, or if we would continue to move it to the new school. Based on that feedback, it was overwhelming that they would prefer to stay in the Bluff Ridge area. And because there was roughly around approximately 70 students, we felt that that would be a doable thing. When we had met looking at overall numbers of opening the new school and either increasing or decreasing the total enrollment of Bluff Ridge Elementary, it wasn't significant enough for us to really have a problem with that proposal. So based on that, we are now taking that triangle piece on the east side of Bluff Ridge back, and we'd like to move it back to, or actually just leave it in Bluff Ridge rather than move them to the new school. Questions on that?
I don't have any questions. Maybe some of the other board members do, but I really appreciate you listening to the feedback and talking to families out there who are living this situation. And
For sure.
appreciate you and Dr. Van Natter going out there and walking the path. So thank you for listening to the feedback. Any questions?
I was just going to say appreciation to Miss Hogan. She was there with us at the
Mhm.
school. Took a lot of feedback from parents that were
Mhm.
truly concerned about young ones, little ones,
Mhm.
finishing up. When we even looked at the grade distribution among grade levels, we saw that many of them were younger, but being protected, or I should say, walking to school with older siblings. And that was some of the feedback that Miss Hogan took, and it just made sense.
Right, right. Well, thank you
You're welcome.
for doing the thing that made sense and for listening to the feedback of our community members.
I just have a
Ms.
quick
Price?
question. Was it mainly the new school boundary that we received feedback and questions about at the open house?
Right,
Okay.
this one little pocket was, I have to cross Bluff Road and then navigate a park slash community, home community area to get to school, and that was very concerning for many of them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Ms. Hogan?
More comment, just
'Kay.
just wanted to thank everybody for this process as well, and just glad that we could come to this decision. It seems like the correct decision. I feel good about it, and I think our community will feel good about it as well. So, thank you.
Agreed. That's why we have this process. It works.
Yes, it works.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you, Ms. Robbins. Okay, Mr. Keim.
President Gerard, Vice President Price, Board. In July, the board initiated a study of the dual language French immersion program at South Davis Junior High in accordance with law that Dr. Toon has reviewed. I just wanted to briefly review the findings of that study and a recommendation. The French dual language immersion program at South Davis Junior High, currently there are 7 students enrolled in that as compared with 139 students enrolled at neighboring Mueller Park Junior High School. There are feeder pattern impacts that we are aware of, and we know the main one being that the bridge program in high school feeds to Bountiful High School, which causes many people to decide to make that adjustment in junior high and go to Mueller Park, which is a feeder to Bountiful High School. There are also elementary feeder impacts that we've discussed and reviewed with Foxborough and Odyssey Elementary and the sunsetting of a French immersion program at Odyssey, which fed to South Davis Junior High School. The instructional impacts of declining enrollment are real. It's hard to run a strong program, and it's hard to attract and retain a high-quality teacher when the numbers are low. We reviewed that. The community feedback, there are 9 digital responses to the community feedback. When I sent you, President Gerard, there were 8 when I sent that to you. I believe in September. There was one additional one just this last week from a parent of a regular French program parent. So her student was in French too, but concerned about the elimination of French programs and world language programs in general was that comment.
Okay, thank you.
We've provided some support to South Davis to keep the program running this year, half of an FTE to help continue the program for this current year while this study was conducted. At the public hearing at South Davis Junior High on October 23rd, we heard public comment, and afterward also got to meet and talk with the parents about their concerns. And we note those concerns, and they're concerned about the quality of their students' French experience and wanting to have it, as we know, they want it to continue at South Davis Junior High. Dr. Toon and I have been working with Mark Jolly, Principal Mark Jolly at South Davis Junior, and Elliot Tupea, the principal at Mueller Park, to work on some potential digital options to increase the quality of students' experience and provide support to those current students in the French dual language immersion program at South Davis Junior High. And so we hear their concerns, and we want to acknowledge that and do what we can to provide support. As Dr. Toon mentioned, based on these findings, the recommendation is to close the French dual language immersion program at South Davis Junior High and consolidate it with the neighboring program at Mueller Park Junior High School.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Keim. Any questions of Mr. Keim? Ms. Stevens?
I do have some.
Okay.
Thank you for all your work on this and the accommodations that have been made for the students that are still at South Davis Junior High. And I'm just wanting to make sure that those accommodations will carry on through whatever grade level they're at to help them through that phase
Yes, for current students, so current 7th, 8th, and 9th grade students.
that
So
are
we-
in that immersion
Yes.
program
Yeah.
will get that digital support
Yeah.
or option.
Yeah, and so for this year, for second semester, we want to connect them digitally. The program at South Davis will continue through the remainder of the year. They'll have a teacher, and Principal Jolly said they found a teacher assistant to help them too.
Oh,
We're also working on a digital connection that they can connect with the Mueller Park program and the strength there and the teacher there to provide that support this year. And then going forward for students that are current students in French dual language immersion to provide that same digital support, even though the program will close at South Davis Junior, they can still be at South Davis Junior and connect digitally
Okay.
with that program for those current students.
Oh, that's great. And then one other thing that came up that I don't know that was really well known, but a lot of them felt like Bountiful is a trickier school for that program to be, Bountiful High instead of Woods Cross, since they're coming from Foxborough, right? Foxborough, most of the immersion students from Mueller Park would be going to Woods Cross. And so just something to think about.
Yeah, and this study didn't examine the programs at the high schools. That would, in my understanding, require an additional study to change a program at a high school. Yeah.
That's correct. So the boundaries are a little bit wonky in that community out there. And there's some exceptions to this in the way the lines are drawn. Most of the students who attend Odyssey flow through South Davis Junior High to Woods Cross. Most of the students who attend Foxborough flow through Mueller Park to Bountiful High. Prior to a decision that we made a couple of years ago, both elementary schools and both junior high schools had programs that fed French dual immersion programs. And so it's not exactly true
That most of them
that
feed
most of the kids
to
would
Woods Cross.
automatically go to Woods Cross High. A bunch of the kids who are in the Foxborough boundary would automatically go to Bountiful High. But it is true in part that some of the kids who are living in the Odyssey boundary, I have to get it right. They're living in the Odyssey boundary, they're currently going to the Mueller Park or would be going to the Mueller Park program. Their boundary high school would be Woods Cross High School, but there's 2 elementary schools that feed that program now, combined into one school. So does that make sense? There used to be 2 elementary schools and now there's 1.
Right, but I'm saying, I think that from what I heard, the majority of them do feed into Woods Cross.
I don't know that that's accurate.
Okay.
The majority of the Foxborough kids, I think the majority of the Foxborough kids
Feed into Bountiful?
I believe so. I can verify
I
that.
think we should look into that.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay. Any other questions?
I have a
Go
question.
ahead, Ms. Pelham.
Yeah, the FTE that you guys are providing to help South Davis continue program, did you say that's just for this year, and then in the future it's just digital?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, thank you for addressing that because I was going to ask that question. And we realize, how much effort you have made to do that, and we appreciate that. It's a difficult thing for those 7 students and their families, and we heard from them, and you really listened, and we listened, and grateful for the work that you did to put that together and to answer some of their concerns and to provide that for those 7 students. And also appreciate, you and Dr. Toon, but also Principal Jolly and Principal Toupé for working together on that. So thank you for doing that. Dr. Toon?
Can I go back on that? Thank you for the prompt, Ms. Stevens. I was incorrect. All the students from Foxborough go to Mueller Park in the boundary, but then their boundary shifts back to Woods Cross. They don't feed directly from Mueller Park to Bountiful High. So your initial statement was accurate. So do we
And-
want to go back to that question now that,
Well, so,
that
and just
that I gave you bad information?
understanding that, they were saying that it's very difficult for the students to continue that program in high school because they have to choose to go to Bountiful High for that immersion program.
Correct.
So I think it would be beneficial for us to look into maybe moving that program to Woods Cross.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on that?
That would require an additional study and a
Yeah.
decision before
Yeah.
December 31st of the
Yeah.
prior year. So I think there's some boundary things, programmatic things to look at there, and that would be something we look at probably on the same timetable this coming calendar year, if the board wants to pursue that.
I think it would be something they would really appreciate, that community would appreciate.
We want to look at numbers too and verify that we were serving that it would serve the community well in the whole
Yeah.
discussion. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, if there, Ms. Barber?
I just have a comment that is about all of these studies that we've done. I was actually just talking to a school board member in a different district in the state, and they're facing very similar challenges that we do, and they were just saying they were kind of at a loss what to do. And so I was giving a lot of these ideas about going out and walking the boundaries together and these open houses. Obviously, some are required by the state, but you can also go above and beyond, meeting with all of the families individually, principals reaching out, some of the digital things you guys are suggesting. And it was just a reminder that we have faculty that's going above and beyond right now. And they were really impressed. They were excited to use some of them. And it's a wonderful school district too, but it just made me really appreciate the process that we follow. And I think our community can very much feel that we don't take these changes lightly and we care about them. And I think good things are to come from all of these changes. So thanks again.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kime.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Forsgren?
Evening, y'all. Glad to be back again and just talk a little bit more about the Eagle Bay and Canyon Creek study that's been done. Really, when we shared and came and talked about the community feedback, at the time there were 80 some odd comments. I think it was about 85, 87. Now, since then we've received some more. We're up to 119 comments that continue to reflect the varied opinions on this. That has made this challenging. Overall, the people love their community school.
Right.
They love their Eagle Bay, they love their Canyon Creek, and want what's best for that. There's a lot of varied opinions and solutions that were in there, that all of which we had actually considered and went through and run the numbers. Many of you or some of you inquired about the parents. You noticed that after the public hearing that I was out discussing in the lobby with several of the parents afterwards, and those conversations were excellent, and it was great. I think I learned some things about the communication that needs to go out to parents. I think some of it was some felt that there was not enough communication that went out in the mailings, and so that's something that we'll want to maybe consider going forward. But overall, as I responded, I think President Gerardo, speaking with you, those conversations ended very, very pleasantly. It was great chatting with them. I was grateful to have their feedback and able to answer what questions there were to help them see how we got to our proposal. Based on the varied feedback, really, I think overall what you can say is that people recognize that there is an enrollment decline in Farmington, and some of the solutions, really some of the proposed solutions fix that temporarily for Eagle Bay and Canyon Creek, but their enrollments will still decline, and in the future we'll be right back into the same spot with one or both of those schools. And so we at this time we still are, our proposal hasn't changed with the phased. As a matter of fact, some of the suggestions that came in were exactly this, whether they recognized it or not, to make sure that the students who are in the traditional English classes at Eagle Bay get a chance to finish their time out at Eagle Bay and not force them out right now during their elementary experience. And that's not what we're proposing. That's why we're proposing that phased boundary change for Eagle Bay and Canyon Creek. So wanted to see if there are any further questions from the board.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Ms. Powell?
Yeah, so you mentioned that some people suggested some different ways to communicate. What are your thoughts about doing this in the future?
I think the challenge comes, I think we try and be clear and concise, but maybe there's, and to be honest, I think there's probably been lessons learned from past experience that I need to learn and talk about with other people as we go forward. Getting out as much information, in particular on the website, as possible, as far as maybe things that have been considered, frequently asked questions about how we got to this proposal might help us a little bit. But again, I would want to talk with, the group of people who have learned from their experiences with boundary studies to see what we do there and if that causes future issues and stuff.
Can I just make one suggestion? As I got feedback from, this is primarily my area that I represent, there were people who, when they submit comments to the boundary website, they think that we see this, the board.
Got it.
So I don't know if you want to clarify that.
Yep.
That it's more like an aggregated data thing where you guys look at it and then give us a recommendation, and that if they want to email the board separately, they can do so. But this is not going directly to the board.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Actually, that was something that came up out there that I was able to clarify for people on how we take the data and look at it, or the information.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions, Mr. Forsgren? Ms. Stevens?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of for now discussion. So what do you think the longevity of the solution is, as far as how are we just putting a Band-Aid on this? How long will this solution be lasting? Because a lot of the feedback sounded like just make a decision and let it be consistent, so we're not bouncing back and forth.
Right, exactly. And I don't think our solution will make people bounce back and forth. Again, that's part of the reason why we're doing this, is that we let people finish out and not bouncing back and forth. But you're right. I think there's a feeling of angst and concern about why are we doing a Band-Aid, and really that's part of the reason why we did that larger Antelope and South study last year, and part of the reason why we've developed and talked to the board and presented to the board the rubric about how we look at future boundary changes for whether it's school consolidation or anything like that for our enrollment challenges, and so what that study south of Antelope showed us were kind of, I've been calling them hot spots, right? Some hot spots that have pretty serious enrollment declines, where Eagle Bay is a manifestation of that. It happens to be a dual language, which made it more complicated, but it's a manifestation of that in and of itself. And so we, there's going to need to be we recognize there's future conversations that have to be had around those hot spots from that Bountiful and South. We wanted to present a rubric to make sure that we have as objective of a way to identify where we focus on first and things like that. But as far as how long these things will last, I don't have that information for you right now.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Powell?
One follow-up. So you mentioned how the intention is to not make families bounce back and forth. So is that kind of implied then we don't plan on continuing the traditional English program at Eagle Bay?
Well, as
right after this phase out,
once all this phase out's concluded, we will not have traditional classrooms at Eagle Bay. That's correct.
Does the community understand that have come and approached you?
Yeah, I think that showed up in some of the comments. There's some that understandably are concerned about a school not having a traditional experience.
Right.
like I said, we've done our best to try and answer the questions as to how we've gotten to this solution, this proposal.
So in effect, Eagle Bay will be our first magnet dual immersion school? Or is this going to be kind of like a dual boundary type situation and not like a magnet school?
What do you mean by dual boundary?
So
Oh, where boundaries
overlap,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. I think I mean, in discussions, the dual language programs have always meant to be magnet to some degree, right? Primarily, though, we found that most of the students in the program are within their boundaries, you
Right.
know, which also affects when we do a boundary study. If we were ever to close a dual language immersion program, you know, going back to Lincoln when we were talking about that, we don't know how many of those students would stay in the boundary versus go to another program elsewhere. That's the challenge of those things, because people love their boundary school, and this one happens to have a dual language program.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Forsgren. We appreciate all of Dr. Toon and all of our elementary directors, your hard work, and thank you for listening to our community members and to board members. So we appreciate that. And we have one more item, and we're going to ask Ms. Ruth Ann Keller, one of our elementary directors, to come up here and talk about the calendar.
Hello, and
Hello.
I'm happy to be here to speak with you, Ms. Gerard and Ms. Price and the other board members, Mr. Leffel, about my favorite topic.
Yeah, your
the
favorite
calendar.
subject.
Yeah. Anyway, you will notice that you have a revised calendar in your packet, and that is because our secondary directors, after we got a lot of feedback about when school was starting, when it was ending, and those were the two biggies. And so they called Weber, and now we have our high school graduations the week before Memorial Day instead of 2 weeks before Memorial Day. And that enabled us to look at the beginning time, and it's really hard to move it to as far into August as many commenters would like us to, but we took 3 days, and we're going to start, well, if you approve this, we'd start school on August 20th instead of the 17th, which is a Thursday, and we have gotten quite a few comments that we like starting on Thursday because it gives an A day, get ready, then B day, get all the nuts and bolts out of the way, and then start fresh on Monday. And then for elementary, they've said they like it because it's 2 short days and gets kids eased back into school. And then we have comments that say just start school on Monday. So, you know, it's what it is. And so that another change is that we had 6 professional days before school started, and we were thinking that possibly DEA would want to negotiate one of those to be a flex day, but now we were able to move that 6th day to have 2 days in January when we come back from fall or winter break to have a dedicated professional development day and a dedicated preparation day for teachers. Another change is, well, this was the most controversial change.
Yes.
Is that the semesters are even more uneven. First semester would be 80 days and second would be 94 days, which is a 14-day difference. And but a plus is high school graduations are the week before Memorial Day. So this is so we can discuss what you've heard. I know you've had comments, and I'm going to invite Dr. Toon up to join this discussion with me. Did I miss anything on? Okay, so go ahead with your questions.
Okay, who wants to start? I know there are questions. Ms. Barber, you could start.
Have a comment, but I think procedurally, I'm so glad that we have this in workshop. So thank you for bringing it, because then we get to have a discussion
Right,
and
that's why we're doing
talk
it
this
this way.
through.
Mhm.
Just for clarification, we still have this current proposed calendar on first reading
In our
in our
board,
business meeting
in
that's
our
coming
board
right
meeting.
after this.
Yep.
I just wanted to clarify because I had
Yep.
a lot of questions with two different meetings. So
Yep.
this is another opportunity for us to discuss that. So I don't really have as many questions. I just had a comment. My first comment is that I think that is such a win. It's I didn't see the data or the feedback that we got, but it sounds like the number one thing we were hearing from feedback in that forum that was provided after our last meeting was the later start date. And I would confirm that just from what I'm anecdotally hearing from a lot of parents and people, that is a huge priority. So thank you for finding a way to make that work. I mean, and graduation this year with Memorial Day being the latest it could possibly be in the month of May, it makes it a unique year. So I think we do have to keep that in mind, that there are these holidays that are way beyond our influence. So there's so many moving parts. So in a nutshell, I think it's really good for us to be responsive to our community on their number one priority. When I got the calendar in the packet, I spent a lot of time trying to compare the one that we looked at in October and the current one. I even had AI try to figure it out for me because it was a lot of changes. And anyway, the biggest thing I will say, I know I've expressed this, I just want to say, is it feels like we have two competing priorities with latest as possible start, and the semester break before winter break. And I've said this, I know I said this in our last meeting, that it was really concerning to me, and then to see it go even bigger, the disparity become even bigger, is really challenging. And I feel like they both have good reasons behind them. You could talk all day and explain why this one's better than the other, but I feel like it's just in the case of everything, you can't have everything you want. So I feel like if we're gonna say priority is responding to community, latest start date possible, we really have to look at that semester end date and say they cannot coexist together. And I have some ideas on that. I have a whole thing, but I think I'll just start with that because I don't want to take up the entire time. But I think that is
good.
Probably my biggest thing. And then another piece of feedback that I just do want to say is I love the professional days that we provide to our teachers and the training. I think they're fantastic. When I had not seen this, I'm not part of the calendar committee, I should say. But when I saw in January the 2 days after our 2 weeks of winter break, I do think that is really hard for parents. Yes. It's really hard. A lot of us are back to work, and not just normal back to work. I mean, it's like the new year has come, the break is over, we have lots of pressure, lots of things, and we have kids home for 2 more days. Last year it was 1 day. I got a lot of calls from parents like, what, my kid's not going back to school. Now we'll have 2 days. I support the intent of it. I think the timing is difficult. So.
Thank you.
All right, I'll let someone else talk now.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Barber. Who wants to comment next? Ms. Hogan, she's on the calendar committee,
So
and we
I
appreciate
was-
that.
Yes, I was on the calendar committee, so what do I say here? There's a lot of competing feelings and pros and cons for pretty much everything that we talk about in the calendar committee, and a lot of circling and circling back. This is my, how many years have I been doing, how many years have I even been on the board? Okay. 3 years I've been doing this, and I've gone back and forth in just my own personal opinions, and so I just want to stay straight out. These are my personal opinions, and there's a lot of things to consider, but I am very grateful that we were able to make this switch, because it was going to be a hard sell to have that extra week in May and have an earlier start in August. So I really, really appreciate the efforts that were made to make that change. I know I spoke with Dr. Toon and Ms. Keller after the meeting that I would like to revisit the start date, the semester ending before Christmas. I know there's a lot of good reasons for it, but it seems to really be, it's not giving us maybe as much leeway as we need in the calendar by having that. And that's just my personal opinion. And every year will be different too. So it's not like we have to do an either or every year. And maybe we don't want to switch back and forth. I can understand that as well. But the committee was a good experience, and I'm so grateful for Ms. Keller for her work on that. I would love, if you have a minute, to propose how we're going to do it going forward, because I really am excited about the way that we're planning to do the committee going forward. That might be more able to get the voices that we need to get. So for what it's worth, I'm really grateful for the changes, but I would like to consider the semester break before Christmas.
Okay, thank you.
President George, can I speak to that, or do you want
Yes.
to?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we should, I don't know, finish with this portion of it and then go to the new changes for next time. I don't know.
I can do
What's
that.
easier?
I can hold the conversation around new changes to the end, but I would like to speak to this semester break conversation
That's
just a little bit. if
that's going to
okay.
be my question too. So if you want to speak
Do
to
you
that,
wanna-
that would be great.
Does the board want to discuss? Do you want me to throw kind of the considerations out there a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
First
we
of
would
all, and I'm
appreciate
not
that.
sharing any of this in like a absolute sort of way,
No, no.
because Ms. Barber nailed it on the head. Every decision that we make to move days around is going to affect the people that wanted the other days.
Right.
The semester break used to be right around Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, about 3 weeks into January, 2 or 3 weeks into January. And we moved that intentionally to prior to Christmas break for several reasons. There's a few students every year who graduate early, and they would like to start their college experience in semester at college, which starts before our semester would end. And
Right.
that's one group of students that's served well by the semester change at the holiday. And then there's a general consensus, there was at the time, a general consensus on the calendar committee that Christmas break is far more enjoyable and relaxing and gives students and teachers the kind of break that that we're shooting for that kind of a long break. If there's not projects underway, final tests right when they get back, those kinds of things. None of that is declarative or absolute in terms of that's the right decision. We've made lots of decisions, right? And that doesn't mean that we have to stick with them all the time. So I think that certainly every aspect of this calendar is on the table for board discussion and for adjustment and for all kinds of things like that. Those are the two main considerations for having it at semester break. The other consideration opposite that is the imbalance of semesters. And having those, a lot of times we'll talk about an imbalanced semester slightly heavier on the spring semester versus the fall semester might not be a huge deal, because a lot of days in the spring, are taken up by testing, AP tests, graduation events surrounding graduation, those kinds of things. But I will say this, a swing of 14 days, that as big a difference as we're seeing on this calendar, it isn't counteracted by that discussion. It is only partially addressed by the idea that the very end of the school year has some every day is an instructional day, but some days that aren't spent in class on core direct instruction. And so those are the things that the calendar committee kind of grappled with. Really, when it comes down to it, if you're looking at fall semester, first semester, there's three things. There's start date, there's when we put the semester break, and there's that's basically it. And if we put the semester date here in the spring or in January or Christmas, that's a big factor for us. And so we can have a later start in August, semester break at Christmas break, at winter break, and imbalanced semesters, right? If you take the balance of semesters, semester break at winter break, and a later start in August, those three priorities, in any configuration, we can have two of those, but it's impossible to have three of them.
Yep.
And so as the calendar committee considered those three things, balance of semesters,
Start
semester
date.
break at the holiday, and
Yeah.
start later in August, our committee work centered on the two that we have on this calendar reflected and leaving the imbalanced semesters as the one that we couldn't accomplish.
Oh.
If we accomplish the one by moving the semester, then we'll give up the other aspects of the semester break that we had in there. So that's, I just want to kind of give the context of it. The committee did a great job, and frankly, they understand the nature of give and take on this every time we talk about it with them. But anyway.
That's a good way of putting it, those three.
You get 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3.
2 out of
It's
3.
really, that's good.
And we did try to give some more days in days off, like prep days and stuff, in second semester to try to mitigate how many days there would be. Like we took the teacher comp day out of spring break and put it in February, and then the 2 prep days in January to try to just mitigate that. We also moved spring break into the first week of April rather than part in March and part in April, which comments were that they would rather have it in the first week of April and not. I mean, when I say comments, I'm talking the ones who commented. Not everybody said that, but that was one thing that they liked. But anyway, there are other things we could do if we still had winter break at the end of first semester. We could take fall break and have it be 1 day, and have Thanksgiving be 2 days, and move the teacher prep day into second semester. I mean, there are still things we could do if we kept the calendar where it is right now.
So you could make changes. I mean, if this is proposal is accepted, you could still make some of those changes. You just
If that's
if-
what the board wants us to do, we
but
could.
again,
Yeah,
I think
Anyway.
back to the drawing board. Okay,
You
Ms.
can-
Barber.
This is just a quick comment, because
Yeah.
those 3 things that Dr. Chun said
Yeah,
are like the 3 big pillars, but
yeah.
Ruth Ann is correct. There are small levers that we could
use.
we could utilize. So I wanted to clarify that. Those aren't our only options, but you're like, fall breaks on the table, teacher days, and winter break itself is as well. We control what days those are.
And dare I
Yeah.
say it, this week, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving is on the table too.
Yeah. I should have said that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Those are things
Okay.
within our control, I should have specified.
Right. Okay, Ms. Price has a question.
So would it be possible to shorten winter break, even if we started winter break a little bit later, like on the 23rd instead of the 21st? I mean, I know it's 2 days.
Yeah. Did you want to say something, Ms. Hogan, about that? I can say something too.
Well, that was actually one of the things we discussed in calendar committee. I think the general consensus is that that there would be a lot of blowback on that. Like, people really feel their Christmas, the 2-week Christmas break is pretty important. I mean, I guess I could be wrong, but I feel like going until the 23rd would be a difficult proposal. If we consider that against the other things that we could do.
When I looked at the comments, and then there's a part in the form that gives a graph, winter break lasting 2 weeks was the second biggest want.
Okay.
The first biggest want was
Okay.
other, and when
And
I
they-
looked at other, there were comments, but they were so varied.
Yeah.
The other 2, a full week for spring break and second term ending when winter break starts, those were the 3 biggies other than other.
That's good to know, though.
That-
We
yeah,
didn't
that is-
know. All we had really heard, like I said, was the anecdotal evidence. So this is really helpful.
And let me speak to the scope of solving the problem. If our aim is to solve the semester imbalance, shaving off 2 days here and putting them over here will make a 4-day difference. So we go from an 18-day differential to a 14-day differential. And 14-day differential's still big. So there's a question of like, what?
14.
It's already,
It's already
this would be
14
14 days, right? The way it is now.
This one's 14.
This one's 14.
Then it would go down to 10. Thank you.
Yeah.
So is it 14?
Yes. This one's 14 days short.
This, it's
Okay.
80 and 94.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
14
because of the 2 days we had, okay.
Yeah.
So.
40 days shorter than the second
So yeah,
semester.
if
the
you,
first
it
one
would be
is.
a 10-day difference, and 10-day difference is 2 academic weeks, right? And so it's a question of like, what does it cost to take out those 2 days and move them over versus the what do we gain in terms of solving the problem that's at hand? Like solving this semester problem would really, if we really wanted to solve this semester problem, then we'd have to move 2 weeks earlier in August and start then and graduate way earlier, or we'd have to move semester break into January where it was before. Otherwise, we can onesie twosie and kind of pick it a little bit and kind of chip away at it, but we don't really get it all the way down to where it was supposed to be.
Okay, can I need to address this because some of the concerns that I am hearing have to do with instructional days and how this will affect students academically. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Do you want to start? Or do you want me to? Okay, I'll start and then Ruth Ann can clean up. The semester classes very rarely have, we only do semester classes in secondary schools, right?
Right.
So our elementary schools, students and teachers aren't going to know the difference. I mean, they'll know when they put their grades in the system and that's when the term ends. But from a number of days in the school year to accomplish the learning objectives, there's not a difference. And the same is true for our year-long high school and junior high school courses. About just over half of our secondary courses are semester courses though. So that's a lot. It's a pretty big number of our classes are semester-based courses. Most of the semester-based courses don't have like end-of-level tests or like standardized outcomes that we would be able to look at district-wide and say academic comparisons between kids who took this class in first semester versus kids who took it second semester. We could have like school, we could have class grades, like failure rates, grade point average for kids who took a shortened fall semester class versus a longer spring semester class. We notice little fluctuations in course grades across the terms every year anyway, so we need to moderate for that. But the short answer is there's not an immediately available variable across the board that we could say, here's our student outcome. Graduation rates, ACT scores, those kinds of things, they're gonna be very blunt instruments in trying to hone in on a difference of a few days in a semester-based class. So kind of a non-answer, but like we really don't know the academic effect. I would anticipate that the best way to study that would be to look at the imbalanced semesters either that we've had, or if we decided to adopt this calendar, to commit to look at those imbalances, look at course grades, and have some combination of student survey results and course grades or something like that we could come together and say, is it having a significant impact? But we don't have data available at our hand right now that would say, certainly it's gonna have this impact or not have an impact at all or whatever.
Okay. And then you also have to consider, I mean, when you say 14 instructional days, I mean, A day, B day thing, so.
Well, another thing to consider, and honestly, we can do whatever you feel is right, is when they come back in January, there's some reteaching that needs to be done. So if there's only, like, say, according to this calendar, there would only be 8 days. So they would be reteaching. I mean, how much, there's not any new learning done. And so do we lose academic days then? Because when we come back, we're not just picking up right where we left off, because kids don't, well, at least the kids I taught didn't retain it. And I taught some really smart kids.
Yeah.
But there's always that reteaching. So that's just another aspect to think of. But if you feel like it's better to academically and for all the way around to move the date, we'll move the date.
Okay, Ms. Stevens?
Yeah, I also have a lot of concerns about the difference. And when we are focusing on academic excellence, saying that 3 weeks of school, 3 weeks of a class doesn't matter is really concerning.
It's 2.
Well,
But A day, B
5
day,
days,
14
5
days, that's almost
instruction
3
day.
weeks.
It's almost 3
I
weeks
guess
of
it
school.
is, yeah.
And I feel
Yeah.
like
You
go to
that's
school
pretty
5 days a week.
significant to
Plus, if I
say.
just randomly add 2 days,
But,
make it
yeah.
18 just for fun, that's confusing
Now
too,
we're
so.
getting.
That it does seem like it would be worth recognizing how much of an impact that has, the trade-offs of what it is that we are sacrificing. And I feel like, you know, sometimes we say like, oh, the last week of school doesn't matter, or after they take the AP test doesn't matter. And I think we should not have that mentality. We should have no waste days in our school district, that if our kids are showing up, we're telling our parents, these are the days that please take your vacations then, because every day that your child comes, we're going to utilize. And I feel like it's difficult to me to see the imbalance. I appreciate all the work that's done. I think this is one of those things that's really difficult. I'm glad you say it's your favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah.
She's kidding.
I know you're being
Not
sarcastic.
me. It consumes me.
Yes, it does.
You
'Cause
do a
it
good
is
job.
difficult.
This is a
It's-
hard,
it's a hard job.
hard thing to
Very
be
hard
tasked
job.
with.
But I think we do need to remember what drives our decision in this, and that is making sure that we are fulfilling the needs of our students academically. And to say, for some of them, when you take this class first semester, you're getting a very condensed version of it, or you're going to be asked to have those teachers pack all of that information into that smaller amount of time. It might be worth the carryover into January for them to be able to have a more balanced semester.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Okay,
Yeah.
any other comments before we have
I
Dr.
think Julie
Toon?
does, and then I just.
Okay, well, we have Ms. Powell and then Ms. Barber.
So I guess I was wondering, so when you guys say that one of your biggest comments was earlier, to end the first semester before Christmas break because people wanted to relax, is that primarily coming from teachers or from parents or from equal? Like, did you get a
It came
sense?
from all across the board. I wouldn't say, I mean, I didn't like check off
Right.
each thing, but there were comments from parents, teachers, students, and staff.
And all of that was years ago comments, because we
Right.
don't get comments on the things that people like about
Right.
our calendar draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but those were the people, it was kind of a student and staff facing
Right.
conversation around the nature of that break.
And also the comments
Mhm.
that came
And-
in
Right.
this year.
And maybe this would be a good time to point out the makeup of the committee, because aren't there teachers?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had DEA leadership, DESP leadership, parents, teachers, PTA, all the school directors, as Ms. Hogan. Was there anyone else? I think we covered it all.
That covers just
Yeah.
about everybody, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I didn't mean to cut anyone off. Julie?
Yeah, I just had a follow-up
It
question.
was a
So-
big committee,
It-
like 30 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you for doing all this. I know there's, like you say, you can't please everybody.
Mm-mm.
I do share that concern, though, with that a lot of people have mentioned about the first semester being 80 days and the second being 94. That does seem quite a bit. So my personal opinion would be to try and, equal those out if we can. If we're trying to work on another calendar before we vote in December, is that correct? The plan is still to vote on the
Procedurally,
calendar.
our hope is that you would approve
We-
this draft on first reading, and then
Okay.
should we make any adjustments
Okay.
between now and December, like if we did make the adjustments that you're proposing, or discussing, I should say, because
Mhm.
this isn't really a proposal,
Mhm.
but then we would make an amendment to the calendar on second reading and pass it on final in December when we met.
Okay, so
So-
even
so
if we
That would
pass this
procedural, and we
one-
don't really need to do first and second on the calendar by
Right.
policy. We
Right.
do first and second on the calendar because it gives us time to release it to the public and get
Right.
feedback.
Yeah. Okay.
So even if we pass this, it's just kind of like a procedural thing where we just pass it, but it will can still change between now
Mhm.
and.
Technically, you could make an amendment to the calendar and pass it on first reading today.
Right.
Operationally, I think I would recommend that we pass what's proposed and then have a study window of a month where we get it, get to the bottom of it, and then the amendment to adjust, if there is one, would come on the second and final as opposed to on the first.
But President Gerard couldn't.
Okay, hold on one second. Ms. Price has a comment, and then Ms. Barber.
So if we were to take some other things into consideration, would you have access to data about the semester classes? You know, how you were mentioning, like if we were to look into that, like, is there a difference between those students who take a semester class first semester versus second semester with, would we be able to get data on that?
We
To
could-
be able
we
to
could
make
get
a
it.
decision?
We've never had a year with a 14-day differential.
Oh.
So we could get it, but it would be not as pronounced as what the students and teachers would experience next year with this calendar. We maybe had, how big was the differential?
I think it was 8
8 to
days,
10.
if I remember
So
right.
that's
or
the
10.
differential that we would have data to reflect.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know whether
Well,
that would be
don't know if we have
meaningful or not,
time.
but we could certainly look at it
Okay.
and see if there was
I don't know if we
some
have
kind of
time
meaning
for
to
that.
derive
All
from
right,
it.
thank you.
Okay,
It'd be
Ms.
last year.
Barber.
I'm just saying that I think we would have to look at
Correct.
where I'm thinking of this calendar year, which we were obviously not gonna have data for. So
Right.
last
We won't
year's,
have-
I think it was 8, but of course we
It's 8 or
love
10.
data, and of course we love feedback, and at the end of the day, it's like you said, you're gonna find something that supports kind of everything. I think we
Mhm.
have our guiding principles of focusing on academics and responding to our community. I think those are really solid. I think my main comments I'll probably repeat in business meeting, because I just really care about the message that we're sending and coming from there. But one thing I've been thinking a lot about with our board visits and PLCs working really hard with teachers is reteaching. Like, that's been a focus of HRS. That's a focus that we have. And I think this is an opportunity for growth for teachers to say, this is a chance to make sure that we're focusing on that prioritizing core direct instruction, even when the calendar is a little inconvenient.
Okay, thank you. Are no more comments right now? Do you want to briefly address
Sure.
going forward?
The calendar committee is an administrative function,
Uh-huh.
and so the board wouldn't need to take action on this. But we're considering, because it consists of like one or two people from this group and one or two people from that group,
Mhm.
a couple of principals, a couple of teachers, a couple of parents, our thought is that instead of having that group be the drafting agents and the consideration agents, most of these big rocks, like when graduation happens, when we do the semester break, how long is spring break, how long is winter break, most of those are set. Most of the work on the calendar can be drafted into one or two different options. And then we could take administratively that function and then basically come up with a proposed calendar. Then we would take that proposed calendar to different stakeholder groups. Instead of having one PTA or two PTA people, we would take it to the PTA, and we would take it to the association as a body. We would take it to the DESP as a body. And so we could consider even community councils and find ways to get large groups to take a look at our proposal, and then have that be the new process as opposed to a drafting committee. What we found is our committee, as good and as committed and as thoughtful as they are, we get hung up on the minutia of like putting the thing on the paper, which we can do administratively in a way. So what we're thinking is next year we'll prepare a draft calendar, get stakeholder group feedback in different settings, kind of like we did with our accreditation process, and then bring the proposed calendar to the board for first with public comment and then second reading the next month.
Got it. Thank you.
The thing I like better about that, besides the obvious getting more feedback, is that the committee went to a lot of work on the calendar.
Yes,
and then
they
it
did.
feels like,
Yes.
why did we go to any work at all?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
this is the second year in a row we're making significant changes, and I don't want people to feel like they weren't valued or that their time was wasted.
Yeah, good feedback there. So, good comment. Well, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. We appreciate, this is a huge, huge task, so we appreciate all that you're doing. Anyway, we've reached the end of our agenda, so we will adjourn until our board meeting starts at 6. If you, do you have another question, but maybe you can run.
I'll
it
just
to
talk.
Dr.
Yeah.
Toom. Okay, see you in 20 minutes.